Okay, it's time to talk about the dark web of taxpayers' dollars flowing to anti-gun organizations. Hey Wolverines, today we're going to be talking about the flow of money from USAID to anti-gun groups. I know a lot of you have been asking me about it, and well, just wasn't time. Now it's time to lay everything out on the table. But first, make sure you help my mission to be a pain in the ass to the ATF by subscribing to my locals. There is a lot of really cool stuff I have planned for over there. You can also like, comment, and subscribe. It's totally free and it really does help out the channel to grow. With that out of the way, let's jump back into the story. I waited to cover this topic, so I'm a little late. I did that because I wanted to investigate myself because I knew the USAID was corrupt, but could they be so corrupt that they funneled money to anti-gun groups? Honestly, I'm still not really sure. I mean, they did funnel money to anti-gun groups. There's no question about that. But there is a question. Are they incompetent or complacent? I am still not really sure. I guess the best thing that I can do is highlight the entangled web that has been woven. A bonus is that the Council on Foreign Relations does make a cameo in this story. Stay tuned. Now let's go ahead and break it down. One example of the dark web of money is tunneling funds distributed through nonprofit groups such as the Neo Philanthropy, the Board of Trustees of Leland, and George Soros' Tide Foundation. He's always involved in something. To all these anti-gun groups. These groups joined other nonprofits such as Civis World Alliance, Kaiser Foundation Hospitals, and Fidelity Investment Charities Gift Fund to bankroll Michael Bloomberg's Everytown for Gun Safety to the tune of $7.5 million. Kind of sounds like legal money laundering to me. Fidelity Investments Charitable Gift Fund was responsible for a staggering $6.748 million to the anti-gun organization. The next largest donor was the Kaiser Foundation Hospitals, which gave the anti-gun group $300,000. Everytown took in over $65 million in 2022. That's a lot of money. I guess that is what happens when you're the favorite play toy of a billionaire. Come on, Elon. $100 million. Not that hard to fight for freedom. You want another one? How about Brady? A large proportion of the Brady Center to Prevent Gun Violence's operating budget came from USAID through intermediaries. Over $12.8 million was filtered through the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening and 5 other organizations before finally reaching its final destination. We'll talk more about the CEPPS in a little bit. This amount is $200 less than the total amount that the organization took in 2022 and $1 million more than what it took in 2021. A dark web of legalized money laundering would not be complete without everyone's favorite punching bag, David Hogg himself. The New Democrat Vice Chair David Hogg's organization, March for Our Lives, was also heavily funded by money that originated from USAID. This money was filtered through nonprofits that received taxpayer money and issued grants to the anti-gun organization. It received over $1.4 million through these funds. In 2023, March for Our Lives took in $1.4 million, which is about the same. I wonder how much money went into David Hogg's pockets. Let's talk about a group of people exploiting the death of kids for political gain. That's just my opinion. Don't Alex Jones me, bro. Sandy Hook Promise also benefited from funds from USAID. Through intermediaries, the anti-gun organization took in over $1.4 million from taxpayers to advocate against the rights of those taxpayers. Kind of screwed up there. In 2022, Sandy Hook Promise took in a total of over $31.5 million. Sandy Hook Promise was founded after a school shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut. Let's talk about the Consortium for Election and Political Process Strengthening again. The Consortium for Election and political process strengthening not only funded Brady, it also funded Giffords, who was founded by Gabby Giffords, through the same 5 layers of organization to a tune of over $8.2 million. Giffords took in $12.8 million in 2023, including a large chunk of taxpayer money. The Consortium for Election and Political Process Strengthening is responsible for filtering over $21 million of taxpayer money to anti-gun groups. The group was founded in 1995 by the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, the International Republican Institute, and the National Democratic Institute. Its mission was supposed to strengthen the democratic process. The group was supposed to be nonpartisan. But funding all these anti-gun organizations by over $21 million tells a little bit of a different story. Don't you just love how all these nonpartisan groups are really left-leaning groups in disguise? They're like Decepticons. The International Foundation for Electoral Systems runs most of the Consortium for Election and Political Process Strengthening. It is also heavily funded by USAID. Imagine that. It was founded in response to President Ronald Reagan's call to strengthen democracy throughout the world. Although a Republican did found the organization, things have changed over time. The current organization's co-chair is William Carlton Echo III, who served as Barack Obama's ambassador to Australia. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The second co-chair is Ken Blackwell, a Council on Foreign Relations member. And there we go. It seems like the Council on Foreign Relations is always around when something sketchy goes down. They must have really bad luck, or they're part of the Illuminati. I'm just kidding. I don't think, well, maybe I do. Here is the exciting part. If the money flow is cut off from USAID to these anti-gun organizations, that could cause major damage to their ability to wage war against the right to bear arms. Currently, a judge has ordered the lifting of the 3-week halt of foreign aid via USAID, but if domestic cuts hold, these anti-gun groups can be facing a reckoning of apocalyptic proportions that could see many collapse or be forced to make heavy cuts to their programs, including advocating against our right to bear arms. I mean, that's the danger of counting on a single entity for a large portion of your funding. If that source goes away, you could be totally screwed. And I think we need to take account of that in the pro-gun space. Organizations should not count on a single donor or a small group of donors. The only way to fight back is through a grassroots effort. That way, if one donor gets taken out or decides not to fund anything, we don't have to worry about that because we have a lot of donors. What we are seeing happening here with all the funding drying up from USAID to these anti-gun organizations is something we need to watch as gun rights advocates. And the groups out there should take heed of what's going to happen to these groups.